Yesterday I spoke about green computing. This is my other major passion in life, is healthcare. I think it's very evident that we are on a continent where we have these big technological gaps in healthcare. And as I spoke about yesterday, that gives us a great opportunity to introduce new technologies, to leapfrog without having to worry about the incumbent systems that are there effectively holding you back. So this whole journey for me in healthcare really started when I looked at the numbers, as you do, as an observationalist. And the number that really struck me and brought this home, and it'll be on the slide in a second, is undiagnosed diabetes in sub-Saharan Africa. So the thing that makes diabetes such an interesting one is it's really easily diagnosable with a simple blood test, if you do the right kind of test. And so in the kind of world we're living in today, there's really no excuse for not being able to do that diagnosis and bring those numbers down. So in the absence of the number large on the screen, it's 53, 54% of cases are undiagnosed is the current estimate in sub-Saharan Africa. Contrast that to the US, which is about 12%. So that is a really stark number and a startling divide. This is, as I say, a disease that once you know you have it, the management is not straightforward, but the management is certainly quite viable and quite cost effective. So driving that number down has got to be a big priority. The real question is, why is it so large? And so there are a number of factors that go into that, but kind of the headline one for me in a way is pathology access. So there's a good map that really just shows you where the pathologists are not, and the pathologists are not in sub-Saharan Africa, an average of one pathologist per million patients compared to 20,000, 50,000 patients per pathologist in other parts of the world. If you look into that in a bit more detail as well, primary healthcare really struggles with this. So in that same region, we're talking about an average of 19%, or median at least, of 19% availability of testing at the primary care. So although the primary care system is reaching people, they get there, they can't do some simple blood tests, and so things like this get unmanaged. The other thing is it's actually quite expensive, relatively speaking, if we talk about purchasing power. So an HbA1c test, which is effectively the gold standard compared to a glucose test has all sorts of interferences. The person has to be fasting. You have to understand their history a little bit. HbA1c doesn't really care about that. But in essence, it's about 4 times more expensive for a person to fund a test for themselves to be done in this region. So that also adds to the thing. So what we're trying to do about this is basically reduce this journey of these miles that sit between a patient and getting a test done. So the first few tens of miles of this, our whole concept is to build really small-scale distributed labs. So you can see a few pictures of them there up on the screen. The target is less than 10 square meters, something in the region of $12,000 to build one. Without the cost of the instruments, those are generally covered by your reagent spend though. So typically they're effectively leased. On top of that, a big technology stack to make sure that they're very easy to operate. They're foolproof. We have good quality control and oversight. We write all our own user manuals. We do all our own validation and testing. We build our own reference ranges because all instruments come with reference ranges for the white European male, like the spherical physics body, and try and get them to be very easily deployable and close to people. So that solves the first sort of few tens of miles. A lot of remote oversight, and this is where we build on the glories of open source and the tooling that's available today. I'll always talk about how amazing it is to be alive now with our access to tooling. So things like Grafana and Prometheus let you build amazing dashboards in a couple of hours that previously would take you a lot of effort and a lot of time to do. That solves getting the labs closer to the people. The next sort of down to a few miles is getting access to places where people go. So there's a big pharmacy group in South Africa called Dis-Chem. They've got 500 locations around the country. That brings them to within a few miles of most of the population. So we've got testing locations in these places. You can walk in. You don't need a referral. It's nice and cost effective. You can get your results the same day. And that's broadening that access to where people are. And the final step to get right into the home is dry blood spot collection. So this is a very old school technology in a way. It's been used for in pediatrics for heel prick tests for a long time, but it's very cost effective. And particularly in our environment, what's great about it is you can do a sample, a little finger stick, drop it on a piece of paper, and it's stable for 5 or 6 days at room temperature. So we don't need an expensive courier system. It's easy to come and fetch it from you, and cost effective. So currently in the market in South Africa, you would pay $12, $13 for a test, plus you'd have to go there. We're getting these into people's homes for $7, and that includes collection, and you get your results a few days later. So because it's my second talk, I'll be quick and I'll stop there. Thanks very much.